Welcome to the FIU Honors Podcast, Panthers Unleashed. I am your host, Emily Garcia, and we will dive into the stories, passions, and adventures of the FIU Honors community. Let's get into today's episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Panthers Unleashed. I'm here with
Hondal, also known as Papa Panther.
Yes, the famous nickname around campus for those of you who don't know. If you haven't heard of him, you should definitely re-listen to this podcast because he's an important person to know.
Thank you. Pause up, by the way.
Exactly.
I know we end
Pause
that way,
up.
but I want to start that way as well. So
it's a great way to start end to end, no matter what.
Just be complete.
So we're going to start off with just a little bit about yourself and then go into a little bit more about your experiences throughout, your career, your involvement at FIU, because I know you have a lot. You're Papa Panther for a reason.
And I'm old, so I've been doing this for a long time. So
hey, we beautifully age people.
Exactly. Perfect.
So if you want, just go into a little bit about your background.
I'm a Miami guy, son of Cuban exiles. My parents were what you would probably call un guajiro. They were guajiros. They were from the farm area in Cuba. Left everything when they lost everything to communism and socialism in Cuba. Came to this country, started from scratch. And one of the beautiful parts about this country is you can get a fresh start, right?
Right.
So I think one of the things they would be most proud of, and they are, because when they were alive, they saw my brother and I meet these metrics. And we both were able to get a college degree. We both got advanced degrees, have a successful career, have beautiful families. And I know that they smile upon from above every day, seeing what they were able to do here in the U.S. And so through that, I was able to obtain multiple degrees. I actually have an eclectic collection of degrees. My undergraduate degree from FIU, of course.
As it should be.
And of course, is computer science. I also have an MBA and I have a second master's also from FIU in education. So it's kind of eclectic, but I'll talk a little bit about that, how it benefited my career.
Well, I'm almost the same story. My dad wasn't born in Cuba, but my grandparents were, and then they moved to Spain. They came here.
Okay.
Nobody on my dad's side of the family has ever gotten a degree, so I'd be the first one, and then my brother's also here at FIU, so maybe we'll be, the Mama, Papa, Panther, and Garcia family.
So you're first gen.
Yes.
My brother and I were first gen.
Oh, see?
So there's the benefit of that.
And I know there's a lot of people on campus who are exactly the same situation as us, because Miami has a really big Cuban population.
Of course.
And all of us, I wouldn't say it's the same exact story for everybody, but same situation where our parents wanted a better life for us, or our grandparents wanted a better life for us, and education was a really big part of how we all contributed that to our family legacy. But so where did your degrees take you to career-wise? Where'd you start off? Where'd you end up?
So it's funny, I talked about the eclectic mix of the degrees, right, in application and what they were. My career has kind of followed that. So I started off being a programmer. I was coding as a computer programmer for Florida Power and Light. I was Yes. So I was a mainframe programmer. Now, that may sound ancient to you guys, but and I often joke around, the only job I can get in computers now would be at a museum, showing you how it used to be. So I was a mainframe coder, I guess you can say. And then from then I came back to work at my beloved alma mater. I was the executive director of Alumni Affairs. Then the two big projects at the university in the late 90s were fighting for the startup of a law school and a football program. And yes,
FIU Law?
FIU Law and football. So back then, President Maydick and Dr. Paul Gallagher, Vice President of Advancement at the time, appointed me to be one of the leads in making that happen. So I kind of became a quasi-lobbyist to fight for those two issues, and we got the law school and we got football. So
thank God.
Thank God. And now I'm so proud of that law school because it is the best law school in the state. It is the best.
The rankings are going up every single year.
Every year. It doesn't stop, and it keeps on going for such a young school. It's something all of Panther Nation needs to be extremely proud of.
And if FIU Law, if you're watching this, please accept me for fall 2025.
Please. I'll have a recommendation from Papa Panther. A Papa Panther letter of recommendation.
Wow. Okay, well, so we've clearly established you've been a part of FIU's history for a while. Has all of that been focused on honors or FIU in general?
Well, when I first got here, there wasn't an honors college. So think about that. So we're talking the 80s, right? So my involvement with the university is pretty all over the place, from academics to athletics, special projects. I helped in the Youth Fair campaign, which even though we won the election, the people's voice, we didn't get the actual land, which should be ours. That's just my political statement for the day. And But I've been involved in so many different segments of the university that I don't even have a favorite. Even though I love athletics,
Yeah.
I love the academic development of the university. I'm very proud of that.
As we should be.
As
you
we
know,
should.
all Panthers should be very proud of where we come from or what we're contributing to FIU.
Can I give you one of my most favorite stat lines that I tell people who've never heard of FIU or know little of FIU?
Go ahead.
We are a Carnegie Research One university. There are roughly 6,000 colleges and universities in this country. I'm going to look right at the camera and say right at the camera. There are about 5,000, 6,000 universities and colleges in the country. Only around roughly 2% of those schools earn a Carnegie One designation. So do the math. Roughly 120 to 140 universities. We are one of those. And so when you look at that list of who's who of universities, we are amongst all those you've all heard of. But we just happen to be one of the youngest ones to be on that list. That's something to be very proud of because there's several schools in this state that aren't Carnegie One. So we've done it quicker, we've done it fast, and we're really, really good.
I feel like FIU, because it's so new, has that reputation that, everybody can get in. It's not really that prestigious, I guess is the word I'm looking for. But because we've done all these things as such an accelerated course, I definitely think in the future of FIU, we could potentially be maybe an Ivy League at one point.
I'll tell you this. That perception definitely existed in the 80s and 90s. When I was here, definitely. Even though I could tell you early in the 80s, when this first became a 4-year school, the funding for incoming freshman classes was very limited. So that we would be funded, I'll use a hypothetical number, 300 entering freshmen. 5,000 would apply. So FIU would be very selective in their first freshman class. Our first freshman classes in 81 and 82, and I graduated high school in 82, I couldn't get, Papa Panther.
Just dated yourself.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't get into FIU leaving high school. I didn't have the grades because the requirements to get into as a freshman were so intense. We had the highest SAT averages come in the early 80s. Now what happens is we grew quick. And the perception was, well, you always have FIU. It was a fallback.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, I can't go to Florida State, I'll just go to FIU. You saw a lot of that. That's not happening as much anymore. As a matter of fact, they can't get into FIU, they go somewhere else. So something that is changing right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, I remember because I transferred from Miami-Dade to here. And I remember that some people in my class didn't get in to FIU. And I was actually so shocked because I had the same idea. I was like, everybody gets into FIU.
Right.
There's nothing, special or selective about it.
Exactly.
Then I came and I realized just exactly how many opportunities FIU has given to me as a student individually. So I can only imagine other people's experiences if they were here all 4 years.
Absolutely.
And mine's just 2.
Absolutely.
But speaking on that note, what caused the shift to honors? How did you get involved with honors specifically?
Well, I've been involved with so many different projects at FIU, and I know Dean Espinosa very well. And he knew me as Papa Panther. He saw me involved with so many aspects of the university. He asked me a couple of years ago, I really need your energy on the advisory board. And I said, and when I heard the people that are already on the board, who I know and I've known for years, Lorianne Cox, and I can name many others, I said, you know what, I want to be a part of that. So I've been doing that the last couple of years, and working with Dean Espinosa is always a joy. He's such a dear friend. I've known him for a long time. I won't hold it against him that he's an FSU Miami grad, but he's an honorary Panther in my eyes. So.
Right. I mean, he has to be at this point.
Oh, I know he is. Definitely.
I love his little saying of, I'm the dean of honors, but I'm the dean of all students.
I agree.
And it's true because I've seen him interact with just FIU students who aren't honors. And it's almost the same benefit. Obviously they don't have the requirements that we do or the expectation as well. But he really is for FIU, which I think is important because sometimes people think that the honors college is something completely separate from FIU and has nothing to do with FIU in general. But it does.
Exactly.
Because we contribute to a big portion of how FIU gets moved up in the rankings.
And you are a prime example of what good looks like. What I'm saying is, when I'm touting all the great things that FIU does, among the many things I talk about, I often talk how proud I am of this honors college.
Yeah.
And I'll put up this honors college with anyone's honors college. I have no problem comparing you guys to anyone.
So to be on the Dean's Advisory Board, because I kind of want to talk a little bit about today,
Sure.
how after graduation, how we can start giving back to FIU because it has given so much to us.
Sure.
So to be a part of the Dean Advisory Board, is it something that you have to get appointed? Is it more like application based?
In my situation, it was a request by the dean. He had known me in many different capacities. He had seen me work on a multitude of different organizations within the university, seeing the work I had done throughout the years. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about networking. One of the benefits of networking is that people see the work that you do.
Right.
So, wow, that guy does a lot of good work, or that person does a lot of good work. I need them involved with my organization. So that's one of the benefits. I had done a lot of work for the university before. Dean Espinosa saw that, asked me to be, and it was an honor to be part of the Honors College.
Ha, no pun intended.
No pun intended. I threw it in there.
Yeah, because I know that, like, for example, myself, like I said, FIU has given so much to me as, like, an individual, and I've given back as a student, but I don't want it to be that's where it ends.
No, of course not.
I want it to continue, you
It's
know,
a lifelong
and I know a lot of
relationship
other
with
people like
you're
that.
a Panther forever.
Exactly. And I
Right.
know a lot of other students who are graduating either this semester or next semester with me in my class that want to stay involved in FIU,
And you
but
should.
outside of being a student. So that leads me to the networking, actually.
Okay.
So when you were doing it, now we have LinkedIn, right? I know I've had a lot of people reach out to me through LinkedIn. I mean, I reached out to you
Sure,
through LinkedIn.
of course.
Even though I met you in person before.
Right.
But
Okay.
through LinkedIn, that's kind of where our networking, like, display is kind of put. But what other ways besides LinkedIn would you recommend us to network to get those type of
Right.
connections that we could end up possibly on the Dean's Advisory
Well,
Board?
LinkedIn is a tool. Just like joining an organization in the community is a tool.
Yeah.
There are a multitude of ways of getting involved to build your network. And I always talk about when you talk about building a network, the beauty of building a network is something that's up to you. It doesn't happen with osmosis. You have to get involved.
Right.
You have to do your work. You have to volunteer. You have to give of your time. But over time, you build a good resume of networks that will help you throughout your career. Listen, people ask me, why are you so involved with FIU? And I always give them a two-part answer. Do you want to hear the selfish part or the altruistic part? The altruistic is I believe in giving back, making the university better.
Good karma.
Good karma. I want my oldest son's an undergrad and master's from FIU, so now it's legacy. So I want to make this place better than it was when I was here. So that's the altruistic, and I want to provide opportunities for students that get a chance to get an education as good as what I got, right? Then there's a selfish reason. You want to know what the selfish reason is?
Of course I do.
I could have, if I would have gone to an established school with a history, Florida, Penn State, Ohio State, I would have gone to a school that's already established. I would have been another cog in the machine. I would have been another brick on the wall, which is great. I would have been a fan. But that school is already established by someone way before me that build those traditions, build those,
Right.
the following that now we, legacies afterwards, come in and follow. That didn't exist at FIU. And I wanted that to exist. For selfish reasons, I wanted that to exist in my school. So at the fork of the road when I graduated, I could have said, well, I can sit back and be an apathetic alum and go, yeah, I wish FIU did this. Or I can engage and get involved in making sure FIU did this. So I took that approach of getting engaged, getting off the sideline, jumping into the game,
Right.
and making a difference. So I joined the board. I graduated my undergrad in 88. So I was 24. In 88, by 89, I was on the alumni board.
Wow.
So a year later, I was in the alumni board. Now, we didn't have the Young Alumni Foundation or Council. We didn't have all those organizations that exist now that were built by those of us that got involved back in the 80s and realized we need to build this so that when those generations that come ahead of us, you, and everyone else, my son, my son's friends that came to FIU, they already had a structure that they could follow. But
Right.
somebody had to build it. Just like it's been built in those other schools that I talked about earlier, we needed to build that here, and we've started.
Yeah. Because I honestly don't know what the advisory board does.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure other people don't know. But if you could touch a little bit on that, like, what are the roles that you guys mainly do, and how does that pertain to what we see done in the Honors College?
What we do is oftentimes on the vision of Dean Espinosa, right? He has an idea, and we're the advisory board that A, will help raise money for those ideas.
Okay.
To give input on how we get those ideas, bring a fresh set of eyes of, yes, that's a great thing to do. Have you ever thought of also doing this? So one of the best things of working in a group, you have your ideas and you come in focused with your thought process.
Tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision, but it may be good, it may be great. But then to hear your perspective enlightens me and goes, whoa, that's true. That's another good point. We can also work on that. So the advisory board provides that type of functionality where we can bring ideas, help raise the funds, and bring to fruition the ideas of Dean Espinosa. So we play a vital role in that involvement and engagement. And we also look for other people to get involved.
Yeah, I know that he's very big on like the student voice as well. I know he has like a little pre-law thing cooking up.
Right.
He asked me my opinion on it because he knows I'm a pre-law student. I've brought like this club to FIU. And through the club, I was able to hear other people's perspective on the pre-law course, specifically in honors. And that's kind of how we helped him, like me and my team. We've helped him like view it from a student perspective, like what would be beneficial from going this way or that way. How would we engage people to be a part of this? So you guys do that, but on an alumni and investor.
Alumni, investor, and community-focused way, right? So we bring all of that into the mix, because what you do have in the council is not only several individuals with different perspective. We come from different areas of business. I happen to be in healthcare and pharma. You'll have somebody else who's an attorney, somebody else is a CPA, somebody who's an engineer, somebody who may be an educator. So you're going to bring a vast array of ideas from different sectors that you can bring to help the totality of Dean Espinosa. I keep on trying to say JC. I know him as JC. I know. So Dean Espinosa's vision.
So formal.
So formal. I try to keep it to his vision, to what he wants to do, and then again expand that vision by some ideas we may have.
Yeah. Well, okay. I like that.
I'll try.
Something I want to be a part of for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And again, that's another example. You guys see it as honor students that there's an advisory council.
Right.
That there might not have been one when honors first started or when there wasn't an honors college. That's part of the evolution of the program called Honors College here at FIU. Yeah. That type of growth where you start doing those type of functions.
I also just want to mention to the people that you guys don't understand how much of an FIU stan this man is right here. Let's talk about this flag that he has brought with him today.
Right here. So this flag, has been
here. I'll hold
right here. There you go. See that flag? That has been all over the world. Multiple continents, all the way from Australia to Europe.
I think you should do something where you should get it signed.
Actually, you know what I'm doing? I'm actually getting a compilation of pictures, because wherever I travel, my wife and I, and by the way, my wife, this is not an Eddie Hondal involvement. We're an FIU couple. My wife is on the board of trustees at FIU.
Oh, really?
Yes. So she was appointed to the board of trustees, and she's as much of a diehard Panther as I am.
So she's FIU mama.
She's an FIU mom, undergrad and graduate degree as well. We met here. We met at FIU in the 80s.
Wow.
So when we talk about the importance of what FIU has meant to me, think of it professionally and academically and all the things I developed as a skill set personally. Now, my core network of friends that I still hang out with, we met here. I was at a wedding for one of my buddies from the fraternity here. His wife, who's a sorority sister for my wife, we're at the wedding of their daughter, right? In that wedding, there must have been 40 alums from FIU from my era.
That's crazy.
And we were all talking about the good old days, one of them being the lead counsel for one of the major companies here in Miami. I was telling him about the law school. And he goes, you know what, I keep on hearing phenomenal things. Like, well, you need to come back and talk to our law students. He goes, name a day.
Yes.
And he's an FIU undergrad.
That law school, I say this with no intention of getting in, but
Get her in.
That law school has not only given traction to FIU law, but also given traction to FIU undergrad. Because now, I don't know if it plays a role that you go to FIU as an undergrad and then you apply to the law school, but that's like kind of what I'm working with Dean Espinosa on, kind of building that relationship between honors and FIU law.
Right.
to be a little bit more established, so that, you know, we're honor students, we do all this work, they deserve, well, not they deserve, but we deserve to have, like, at least the opportunity to get our name out there within the law school.
Absolutely.
If we want to stay here.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
because
Yep.
at this point, FIU is a big dream.
I will tell you right now, when I know many people have gone to law school that went to other undergrads, and they were accepted to many other law schools throughout the country. And when they had their interview here at FIU Law, and they saw how they were treated, they were just a number. The personal approach taken by the faculty and the dean of the law school, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. It made it easy for them to come here.
It is. And then, not only that, I will say that because of the law school, I think now so many people feel like they have an opportunity to succeed within the legal profession, if that's like the route they choose to go. Because I've heard that a lot of law firms are like, oh, if you graduated from FIU Law, you're hired. It's like, again, it's a no-brainer. But not only the law school, the School of Medicine,
Absolutely.
the communication school, like all the programs that we have here at FIU, which, you know, all ties back to you one way or another, and your wife. They've all grown so big because of people like you.
Well, and we go back to what you just said. When you talk about people in law firms now, oh, you're from FIU, you're hired. That was created by those that came before you, you know, those that graduated with FIU and got those incredible bar results, and not only had great bar results, went in and busted their rump to get in and work hard and get in there and build a reputation for what is expected of an FIU law student. They did it. So now the perception is, wow, they're coming from that law school. I've seen the results of hiring them. It's a good result. We need to get more. That's important. That's important. And we do that in all areas. Can I tell you a great story? I know one of the questions is great stories. In the mid-90s, we also have a very good accounting school. Accounting is brutally hard, it's tough, very competitive, right?
Engineering, too.
So in the mid-90s, there's, I think, back then, it may be different now, because that was a long time ago, mid-90s. You weren't even born yet, I don't want to hear it. Back then, there were two major passage rates for the CPA exam, another hard exam, twice a year back then. There was a list that would come out, a national list of people that would get perfect scores on the CPA exam.
Whoa.
I mean, think about the thousands. Think of all the accounting schools in the country, the thousands of students that sit for the CPA exam. Students that would get perfect scores, might have named a couple dozen, maybe, let's say max 30 students across the country would get perfect scores. In whatever, 95, 96, that list came out and I got a hold of it. And think of every top business school in the country was out there. Do you expect it? Only one school had 2 perfect scores. Us. And boy, I went to town with that. I called all my friends that didn't go to FIU, that went to every other school but FIU, and I told them about what our accounting students had done. And I made sure the world knew, as alumni director, that everyone knew that we had 2 students. We were the only school to have 2.
I don't know how you keep track of all the FIU information.
Oh, well,
because I look at your LinkedIn and it's like FIU.
It's I believe in it. I'm passionate about it. I go back to the altruistic or selfish reason. Some of that falls into selfish. I want to promote my school to a point where the value of all our diplomas increases. Because I'll tell you what, in my company, Lilly, the perception of FIU is much different, not because of me. In Lilly, we have about 30 employees who are FIU grads, and we're tight, right? We're talking about country managers in Europe that are FIU grads,
Wow.
VPs domestically that are FIU grads. So when I deal with management in my company and they hear FIU, they know who we are. They know who we are. And that's a tribute to the Panthers and some Sunblazers like myself, because I was also a Sunblazer, that work at these companies and make a name for themselves. And not only make a name for themselves, don't forget where they come from and make sure they let everyone know where they went to school.
The Panthers Unleashed.
On Panthers Unleashed, exactly.
We come full circle.
Full circle. We got full circle.
So you mentioned your company.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to talk a little bit about more what you do today.
Okay.
So what is Lilly?
Lilly is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the country. They have a diverse disease state. Like I spend my days with endocrinologists all day talking about type 2 diabetes. I have a history.
What
in
a
the
lovely subject.
I know, and unfortunately, is a growing number of patients that are becoming diabetic. A lot has to do with the diet of this country, sedentary lifestyle, what we're eating, etc. So I deal with that. So I spend my days with endocrinologists. I've been in the industry 23 years with Lilly 10, and with another pharma company, which is another great company, Abbott Laboratories and AbbVie, for 13. My specialty before diabetes was cardiovascular. So I spend my days talking a little bit about science and talking about patients, right? And how my products fit a certain patient type with my doctors. So I spend as you see, I'm in scrubs. So I deal with doctors all day. And it's a great industry because it's a constant learning environment. Like right now, I have a product that may be getting a couple of new indications. So I'm already doing the science work behind those indications, whether it be CV, cardiovascular, or any other area of interest. You have to always be learning about my product and about the patients.
So do you use any of your extensive degrees to help you with this current role? Because I know it's not computer science.
Exactly, and it's not business and it's not education. I don't use it in my day-to-day because it's science at the end of the day. It did help me get the job because what happened is I had a network of connections in IT. I had networking connections in education and in business. So what happened in my prior employer, AbbVie, they closed the franchise. So I was left out of work. So I had to find a new position. So I had to rely on an FIU grad network of mine that I used to run into her in the field because we were both cardiovascular reps. And she knew what I had done at the other company. She knew me from FIU. And she once told me, hey, there's a position available at FIU, at Lilly. And through that contact, I was able to set up interviews, get in the job, and get the job almost 11 years ago.
Wow. So it wasn't unnecessarily on your plan to go down this route. It kind of just fell in your lap.
Right. So,
because of FIU.
Because of the connection I had from FIU, the network. So in this world, I get a lot of training from the company on science, right? So I don't have a science degree. So what happens in my world of diabetes, let's say an endocrinologist knows this much. I can deal with him or her this much. So I can talk diabetes, and you would hear me talk. He goes, "Oh he must have a degree in some science."
Right.
I don't, but I can go this deep into the role. Now, what happens in diabetes, unfortunately, with diabetes, people don't tend to die of diabetes; they tend to die of cardiovascular disease. I also have an extensive background in cardiovascular because I sold cardiovascular products.
Right.
So now that segment maybe becomes this much because I could talk about CV disease and how it relates to diabetes. So it helps me in my career to be prepared, to be able to talk about different disease states and how they correlate with each other. So when I'm talking to an endocrinologist and we're talking about diabetes and he or she brings up cardiovascular disease, I can jump into that space as well. And that helps me in my career.
Well, I can imagine that helps anybody in any career.
Definitely.
Because if you think about it, all of if you go through an extensive schooling process, you go to graduate school or wherever the path takes you, I don't think they're necessarily with the exception of maybe medical school.
Right.
I don't think they're necessarily teaching you this is what you're going to be doing every day.
Right.
I think they're just putting you in the mindset of this is how your profession thinks. This is how it's going to get you to be successful.
Right.
But you need experience.
Exactly.
Which is why I feel like they encourage so early on, if you have the opportunity to go shadow a doctor. If you want to be a surgeon, go shadow a surgeon.
Exactly.
You want to be a dentist, go shadow a dentist.
Exactly.
To do all these things to get that experience so that when it comes time to be in positions where they kind of just, hey, this is open, let me just give it a shot because you never know.
Yeah, definitely.
You kind of already have the critical thinking and
exactly
mindset to already be ready to take on a role that you may not necessarily know a lot about. But you can easily learn it. You can get on your feet.
Well, and there's so I can have a product that's very good, right? But if I have a product that's difficult to take or causes side effects that are uncomfortable, my patients aren't going to be compliant.
Right.
So I need to manage that. And luckily, right now I don't have that issue. I have products that are very easy to take. Patients are easy to be compliant for many reasons. So that's not a factor. But I've had products in the past that I had one product that would make the person flush because it was working, but it made you flush. Flushing isn't fun. You feel it's like a hot flash.
Yeah, like you're about to pass out.
And you get red, but the product was working. So how did I manage telling the doctor, hey, listen, you're going to have to give this product. I mean, it was years ago. You have to give this product, the patient, and you have to be honest. the patient more than likely is going to flush. You need to control the flush by, if they take water, if they take whatever, you can give things that maybe will minimize a flush, as an example.
Right.
So you got to have that level of conversation with the doctor, not just the efficacy, but help the patient be compliant and make sure you make that treatment availability and as easy for that patient to take as possible. So all that conversation is had by me, an endocrinologist and formerly cardiologist for many years.
Wow. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
That vast,
you an idea.
extensive knowledge that we just got on cardiovascular sailors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to wrap up this segment with, a little piece of advice from you to our fellow Panthers.
Okay.
As Papa Panther, what is something you would just want all FIU students, regardless honors, not honors,
Right.
to know about FIU giving back, the rewards, anything you want to say?
This university provided me, it was a paradigm shift for me. I've often explained, coming from two parents who were Cuban exiles, who were farmers, limited education, you come to this country and I had FIU to help me. The reason I bleed blue and gold is because FIU was here for me. I can never think of ever wearing other colors of other schools that did nothing for me.
Literally, his scrubs are navy blue.
By the way, they are blue for a reason. Because I want to. And by the way, you're lucky I'm not wearing a pin, because I usually wear an FIU pin when I go to my offices, so they know where I went to school. I'm just not wearing it today for it. I must have not had enough Cuban coffee. But back to what I was saying, it's important that you understand that this is a place that was here for you. You need to be here for our university. It's only going to help the value of your diploma. I've said it before. By you speaking up a good game about how good FIU is, get informed on the metrics, what make us so great, and take that to those that don't know about FIU, or maybe go to FIU and don't know the facts of how good this school is. Take that, because at the end of the day, if each one of us did that, and everyone outside of FIU that doesn't know about FIU see how you perform, and hear all the great things happening at FIU, and their perception of FIU changes to, wow, great things are happening at that school. That must be a good school. The next time that person meets a Panther, they're going to expect certain performances. I'll give you an example. Harvard. You hear the word Harvard. When you hear a Harvard grad, you're expecting certain things.
Internationally.
You're expecting a level of performance, whether they've earned it or not. You already have a level, because I've never heard a Harvard grad that isn't proud to say they're from Harvard.
Right.
I've never met one. Well, I take that attitude about FIU. I'll be in rooms with people who I've never heard about FIU. I travel, and people go, "Where'd you go to school?" And they're telling me, "I went to Savant, and I went to all these other places." I go, "I went to Florida International University." "Oh, you never heard of us?" Give me a couple minutes. And oftentimes embarrassing my wife down the road, and as I say all these things all the time. But I do that because they need to know who we are. And the moment that they know who we are, the value of all our diplomas that are listening to this and are here in this room, understand, just elevated. And that is our mission. We are the brand managers of our university.
I 100% concur.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's episode, guys, or listening if you're just watching on Spotify. Make sure to follow us on Spotify at FIU Honors, on Instagram at FIU Honors, and on YouTube as well to watch the video of our podcast that we had today. It was a pleasure having you here with us. We are, 100%.
Okay. Waiting for your lead.
Of course, with that being said, guys, pause up.
Pause up.